For the last couple weeks, I've been playing a lot of the Batteryman strategy on my live streams, and every time that I play this deck, I get some questions about, oh, what do the cards do, what are the main combos, all those sorts of questions that you're used to when you play a deck that not a lot of people actually know exists. And in today's video, I wanted to do another Yu-Gi-Oh! Explained, and this time I'm going to talk about the main Batteryman cards, as well as some support cards that are really good for them that I've found. And I should mention that I've played Batteryman for a long time. I was super excited when they originally got 9-volt 4 years ago, and I've sort of always kept it in the back of my mind as a rogue contender, and actually right now it is pretty good. We've had a lot of success in the live streams, so I thought it'd be a great time to talk about it. Anyway, the first card that I want to talk about is Batteryman Charger. Now this is by far the best of all the Batteryman cards. It's the main card that you want to summon as often as possible, and it's also your main win condition as far as OTKs go, because Batterymans are all about OTKing the opponent, and Batteryman Charger does two really important things. The first effect lets you special summon a Batteryman monster from your deck or hand whenever the card is normal summoned. It's worth mentioning that it does not have to be tribute summoned, so there's some cheese that can be done with it, but that's not super important. What is important is that this is not a hard once per turn effect, which means that if you have multiple copies in your hand and you have extra normal summons with cards like Gem Knight Seraphinite, you can actually get 2 special summons. And the other important part about this card is that it gains 300 attack and defense for each thunder monster you control, and that does count itself. Now, why does that matter? Well, it matters because it only has 1800 attack, although when it comes out just by itself, it'll have the 2100 attack points. But what we're really trying to do here is flood our field with a whole bunch of thunder monsters, namely battery cards, and then actually just kill our opponent in one battle phase. And that really does happen a lot because Batteryman Charger, what you're usually special summoning with it is Batteryman 9-volt, which came out in Duelist Alliance, and this card is really crucial as well. Maybe not as crucial as Charger, but it definitely helps Charger actually be a win condition. So when Batteryman 9-volt is summoned, and that's any means, so flip or normal or special summon, anything like that, you get to add a Batteryman monster from your deck to your hand, and then it goes up to 2000 attack and defense. However, it blows up in the end phase. Luckily, there's 2 main reasons that doesn't matter too much. Well, I guess there's 3 really. The first reason is that a lot of the times you actually just win the game after you use this effect. The second reason is that you contribute it for the next card that we're going to talk about, and the third reason is that this card often can just be used as link material or exceed material before you get to the end phase. So this is the main thing you're summoning off of Batteryman Charger. So you summon the Charger, then you summon the 9-volt, and then what does 9-volt grab? Well, the most common thing is Batteryman Fuel Cell, a 2100 attack monster that can special summon itself if you control 2 face-up Batteryman monsters, which is really good because with that one Charger effect, you put the 9-volt on the field, so you actually do have 2 Batteryman monsters, and then you can summon Fuel Cell immediately. Now that does 2 things. First of all, you can use this card's second effect to tribute a Batteryman monster like 9-volt to return a monster or return a card to your opponent's hand. Now that can target any card, not just face-ups, and also not just monsters, and it's a really good way to sort of clear out your opponent's back row before hitting them for a lot of damage. Speaking of damage, the other reason Fuel Cell is so good is because with that one Charger that you started with, you can actually do a clean 6800 damage to your opponent. You go Charger into 9-volt into Fuel Cell. Charger gains that 900 attack for having 3 thunder monsters. So really the way that you want to win with Batteryman is somehow find a way to close that 1200 gap between 6800 and 8000. Now there are a lot of different ways to do that, but one of the ways that I like doing that is just by normal summoning another monster if you have an extra normal summon through Gem Knight Seraphinite, because I think Brilliant Fusion is an excellent addition to this deck. We're going to talk more about that in a second, but just know that that 1200 is what you really want to keep in mind when building a Batteryman deck, simply because that's the number that you have to get to actually close out the game. One of the more popular one-of cards in a Batteryman list, simply to search it with 9-volt, is Batteryman Industrial Strength. This thing is essentially a BLS for a Batteryman player. You summon it by banishing 2 Batteryman monsters from your graveyard, and then you can banish a Thunder monster in your graveyard to pop a back row and a monster. Once again, it doesn't really matter if they're face up or face down, and you can actually destroy your own cards with this, which might not seem like a good idea, but the important thing here is that if you need to destroy your opponent's monster but they don't have any back row, you can just set one of your dead spell cards and then pop that instead, so you actually can make sure you clear your opponent's board. This is another card that sort of closes that 1200 gap because it has 2600 attack points, and you can just summon it for free as long as you have 2 Batteryman in your graveyard. So this card is incredibly crucial for actually breaking boards, because outside of Fuel Cell you don't really have a ton of ways to do that, so you definitely want to play at least one copy of Industrial Strength just to search with the 9-volt when you already have Fuel Cell. Now the next card is sort of new, and that is Solar Batteryman, and or Batteryman Solar, I should say. The OCG version was Solar Batteryman. Anyway, Batteryman Solar is a level 4 monster that has a couple different effects here. The main effect is that when you normal or special summon it, you get to send a Thunder monster from your deck to the graveyard. That's okay. It certainly is good for loading up your graveyard for Batteryman Industrial Strength, as well as setting up a combo with the next card we're going to talk about. But the main effect that I like about this card is that if you special summon or normal summon a Thunder monster while this is on the board, you get a free token, which is a level 1 Thunder Batteryman monster, and that's really cool for a lot of reasons. You can use it for link summoning, you contribute it for a fuel cell, and also it contributes to the 300 bonus from Charger, which means that it helps you OTK your opponent. Now that effect is once per turn, and that isn't like the best thing because you really want to be able to flood your board with a whole bunch of tokens and then get rid of them, but even just that extra monster does make a huge difference. So, Batteryman Solar actually does have an extra effect too. It lets you copy the name of a card in your graveyard. That basically never comes up in a competitive Batteryman deck because that doesn't really matter. It has some synergy with the older Batteryman cards, but we don't really play those, so it's not really worth mentioning. Outside of monster cards, we have Battery Charger. I know we already talked about Batteryman Charger, but they actually have a very similarly named card in Battery Charger. Essentially, this card is a monster reborn for the 500 life point cost. It's really, really powerful. You can already see that this combos with Batteryman Solar. You can send 9-volt to the graveyard and then Charger it back and then add Fuel Cell, special summon the Fuel Cell, and now suddenly you have 15 plus 2000 plus 21. That's a lot of damage for just a 2-card combo, and it's one of the main alternate combos that Batteryman actually pull off if you don't have the Batteryman Charger and you just have Solar and Battery Chargers. So I like Battery Charger as a 3 of. In the past, it hasn't been as important, but I think right now, because of Solar existing, you actually have a lot of access to Batteryman cards in your graveyard, and it's just a good card in general because, once again, like all these cards, it's not a once per turn effect, because only once per turn effect I think of all these is 9-volt, but Battery Charger, if you have 3 of them in your hand, you can keep special summoning from the grave, which is really powerful. There are also 2 Batteryman cards that I want to talk about as tech options. Now, these aren't always played in every Batteryman list. I think the one that I've been playing on the live stream has not played either of these cards, but it's worth mentioning because depending on the format, they could be better or worse. So Short Circuit is basically your board clear. All you have to do is get 3 Batteryman monsters on the board, and then you can blow up your opponent's entire board. Obviously, that's really good. However, it's not a combo starter, it's a combo finisher, which doesn't really contribute to your better hands. A lot of times this card can brick, which means that you don't really want to play more than like 2 copies of it, but even then, I don't think this card is that good, that format, so I'm not playing it, but I think it is worth mentioning because if there is a format where the best deck is setting a whole bunch of cards on the field that don't have a lot of negations, then Short Circuit is really powerful. But right now, a lot of people are just keeping their cards in their hand, only contributing a couple things to the field, so Short Circuit isn't as impactful. It's still a good card though, and you want to keep it in mind for future formats. The other card that I get a lot of questions about why I'm not playing it right now is Batteryman Microcell. Now, I love Microcell. It's a really neat card, and it is really cool when it goes off. It special summons a guy, you get a draw. It's all sorts of good effects in one card. The problem with it is that it's a flip effect monster, and in the way that I've been playing Batteryman recently, which I feel is the best way to play it, you're really playing it as a blind go second strategy. So if you draw Microcell, it's not very good because you just want to be comboing off on your first turn, which is the second turn of the game, and just kill your opponent in that first battle phase. But if you draw Microcell, it's really, really slow, especially when you choose to go second, because your opponent sets up a board and then you set a Microcell, and then your opponent gets a whole nother turn without any interruption to set up a greater board, and then that's all just to resolve your one Microcell effect, assuming they don't have a way to out it, which a lot of times they will. So I don't like Microcell right now. I think it's not a horrible card. I certainly have played it in the past, but if you are playing this deck as a blind go second deck, which I think you definitely should, then this just isn't a card that you want to play. Now, for other support options, I mentioned earlier Brilliant Fusion and Gem Knight Seraphonite. Those cards are insane in the strategy. I still don't know how people are not playing these cards. It's good for a lot of reasons. The extra normal summon off of Gem Knight Seraphonite is really good for Charger and 9-volt. If you have like 9-volt and Brilliant Fusion, you can just combo your opponent right there. That's really powerful. But it's also good because it combos with the spell version of Battery Charger, because you can send 9-volt to the grave and then special summon it immediately and then do your normal Batteryman Charger combo, and that's really good. Seraphonite's also a level 5 monster, so you can exceed summon into rank 5s using Seraphonite and your Charger, if the case may be. There's some good Exceed monsters out there. I think one of the better ones is number 61 Volcasaurus, which can do some extra damage, and then you can upgrade that into a Gaia Charger, do a lot of damage off of that. But overall, I'm just a huge fan of Brilliant Fusion just in general, but also especially in this strategy because all of your deck is light monsters, and you can even play, instead of Gem Knight Garnet, you want to play Gem Knight Tourmaline as your Gem Knight monster to send, because Tourmaline is a thunder monster, which means you can actually banish it off of the second effect, the on-field effect of Batteryman Industrial Strength, which comes up a lot. So definitely you want to play Tourmaline, not Garnet. That's worth mentioning for sure. And then the other engine that I think is has the potential to be hit on the ban list, so it's not really worth mentioning, but if you are playing Batteryman like in the next couple months, this card is really good. The Sky Striker engine is actually super powerful, only because the Hornet Drones card is insane. It not only puts a tribute fodder on the board, it also puts a monster with 1500 attack on the board, which makes you actually OTK your opponent. So if you open Hornet Drones and Batteryman Charger, you have more than 8,000 damages. The main combo here is you Hornet Drones for the token, and then you make the red Sky Striker card, and then you add the Hornet Drones back and you activate it again to get another token on the board, and then you tribute the red Sky Striker for Batteryman Charger, do your same combo that I just mentioned where you summon 9-volt and summon Fuel Cell, and then now that your extra monster zone is freed up, you can then use a token card for the blue Sky Striker Link monster, and that's over 8,000 damage because the blue Sky Striker monster has 1500 attack points. So I know a lot of people don't want to play Sky Strikers, and you certainly don't have to, and you also don't even have to buy Engages. I mean, Hornet Drones is just a super rare if you just want to play that card, but obviously you want to play Engage if you have access to it. If you're playing online, every card is free, so you might as well play the card. But I've found that the Sky Striker engine in Batteryman has been incredibly useful, simply because it puts that extra monster on the board so you can actually close the deal with Batteryman Charger. Anyway though, that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. I know I didn't mention every Batteryman card out there. I just wanted to mention the best ones and the ones that you want to play competitively if you're looking to play Batteryman. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll try to do more Yu-Gi-Oh! Explained in the future if you guys actually like these types of videos. It's fun talking about the archetypes and the themes that I've played in the past and played for a while, and I kind of know the ins and outs of them, so you guys can actually pick up those decks for yourselves and play them at your locals or online or whatever you do. And anyway though, I'll see you guys later though. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.